Our last year in Vancouver, $51.3 million in the red. We actually had one of our general managers, we had several, was sitting down with our CFO. He actually said, "So the brackets, they're bad, right?" Yeah, they're bad. But that was our last year. And then $250 million. That was an offer on the table from where we finally ended up relocating. But we were sold in 1999 to Bill Laurie, Walmart by marriage. And he was very adamant and very succinctly said, "We're moving to St. Louis." David Stern will listen to a lot of things, but that's probably something you keep quiet in your private meetings with Mr. Stern and not to the newspaper. So that didn't go over quite well. So the first sale to Bill Laurie didn't happen in '99, but shortly thereafter, Michael Heisley out of Chicago got in the picture, and that sale was completed in the spring of 2000. So the long-term life of the Vancouver Grizzlies was looking kind of grim. But when that happened, we originally had a company that operated the arena, the hockey team, and the basketball team. I elected in the summer of 2000 and October 2000 to go strictly over to the basketball side. So it was what I wanted to do. We just opened a $4 million practice facility in November of 2000. Mr. Heisley was committed to Vancouver, said all the right things, and for all the negative press that the team's received in Vancouver since then, I honestly believe that there was a committed effort to keep the franchise in Vancouver. But due diligence says a lot, and unfortunately there was the due diligence on some of the pre-purchase research was probably not as accurate as it could have been. But when the team left the umbrella of the overall organization, suite revenues went down. We lost sponsorship synergies. We didn't get as much food and beverage revenue. So all those revenue streams that were small to begin with now were almost non-existent. So that's how we ended up with the 51.3 million. So then we started to, no, honey, we're not going to move. The team would never move. I know you're from Vancouver, but the team would never move. Had a couple of those conversations. And even at work, in Vancouver is probably one of the few NBA cities that celebrates Chinese New Year. So we had a big Chinese New Year game. And I attended the staff briefings before each game and had a direct question from some of the supervisors. Said, there's a lot of stuff going on. The team's, what's going on with relocation? We need to know the facts about this. We're getting a lot of questions from staff and the public. And I said, with, at the time, a completely straight face, there's nothing on the table right now for relocation. There's been no indication from ownership that the team is moving. 20 minutes later, on the floor, my boss comes up to me and said, yeah, the owner, he's going to have a press conference, and he's going to announce the team is going to be moving. So, great. This is, it's now middle of February of the 2001 season. So we put the team up for relocation, and it was quite the process. If you look at the numbers, the NBA, it's a large league, and we started to look at what the options were. But at the time, there wasn't a whole lot available, really, that was a lot better, markedly better than Vancouver that we thought. We were looking at Buffalo, St. Louis was back in the picture, Louisville, Norfolk News, the Tri-Cities area there in southeastern Virginia, Riverside, the Inland Empire down in California, and all of these cities were in play. So you hear one thing, and okay, you're getting online. How much is a house? Oh, that's good. It's a lot better than Vancouver, and that was Buffalo. And then you look at Louisville, and New Orleans was even in play as well. So it was a tenuous time in the office. I mean, we had transferred about 60 staff had come over to the basketball side, and we're working strictly on our company, Hoops LP. And it was a tenuous time to have a job, and now this is the facts of life. So we're moving. In the midst of all of this, I'm in Maui for a week in March of '01, getting married. So every day that we're at the hotel, I'm getting about 25 pages off the fax machine about what's happening in the office and what's going on. I got married on a Wednesday afternoon on the beach. It was great. Friday morning it says we're moving to Memphis. Now, if anyone's from Memphis, I love my time in Memphis. It's a beautiful city, but I've lived in Vancouver for 15 years. That's a big jump going from Vancouver, BC to Memphis, Tennessee. I was a bit more prepared for it. I grew up in the South, went to school in New Orleans, but there's a number of our staff that were born and raised in Vancouver, and that's a huge jump. We made our first trip down there during Barbecue Fest. About 2 weeks from now, there's Memphis in May, and it's a big barbecue, World Barbecue Cook-Off. And you see all types down there, and we hit the ground running. So we're going to Memphis. Hey, you, Don, you're an American, right? Yeah. You have a passport, right? Yep. Get on the plane. Okay. So we're coming back to the States. I was seeing immigration issues from the other side of the plate now. I was an American. I was down here. I was down there really ready to go at the 1st of June. A lot of our staff had to jump through some hoops to get down there. But we were getting ready to go to Memphis summer 2001 to play NBA basketball in October. We had about 90 days to move a franchise, and it's quite the feat. It's big enough moving across town into a new stadium with all the intricacies, but we did it across the continent and across the border. We had about 90 days to do about $7 million in renovations to the pyramid, which pyramid was built in '88. And by by 2001, it was already out of date. So obviously the $250 million arena package was why we were going to Memphis, Tennessee. But it wasn't going to be ready for a couple of years. John just really couldn't draw fast enough, and that's what the problem was. So, yes. So we had about $7 million in renovations to the pyramid. We had a brand new practice facility. We had to renovate a practice facility at a local university. We had to hire staff. We had to sell tickets. We had to do all of these things in less than 3 months. Create new sponsorships, work with the city. There was some vocal negative groups. There was NBA Now and NBA No. They didn't want us there. So we had to mend some bridges to move into the market. But we made it all happen. But we did have, and in the midst of all of this, from July 1st, we got approved by the league in early July, and we had a game in mid-October. 9/11 happened. So we were about 6 weeks from our first basketball game, and then everything changes. We go upside down. We go to New York. The league's implementing all these new security measures, and we're like, wow, we just found a new building to play in, and now everything's changed. So the game changed for everybody. But we got everything done, and we started to play in 2001 as the Memphis Grizzlies. At that time, we still had some work to do on the court, but we could see some improvement, and that definitely helped. Our third season down there, we finally made the playoffs, and that definitely helped. Of course, Memphis is the only team that's 0-12 in the NBA playoffs. We've been swept 3 times, but at least we were there. So we've got a new building. We're in a new town. Everyone's getting acclimated. And really right after I moved to town, we got the pyramid done. We started to plan this new arena for us, FedEx Forum. We had $250 million. We talked. There's a little bit of financing talk in the session at 3:30 today, and you guys were asking about, what's the best model? How can you generate this money? And the best model is when a city writes you a check and lets you design the building, lets you run the building, lets you keep all the revenue from the building. That's the best model. So I highly recommend that. Yes. It's few and far between. The 49ers would like that model. The Vikings would like that model. It doesn't really exist very much anymore, but that's what it was. Is the city and the county found this money. They found the funding streams for us, and we built the building. had a lot of input into the building, designed what we were looking for in terms of amenities and revenue generation and sponsorship amenities and all those things that go into it.